This episode of Helmets Off is going to be a little bit different. Our first episode we had with Becca, the owner of Heart of Glass over in Lawrenceville. The salon has basically been shut down for the entirety of quarantine and then obviously opened back up when we got into the green phase. We felt it would be a natural follow-up to bring basically this video series, this podcast, whatever it is, to her and get a haircut basically because I really needed one and because it would just be a natural follow-up to everything that we talked about in the actual interview. Being as she works in a salon and there's a lot of noise and there's people talking, we weren't the only ones there. It's not exactly a great controlled environment for something like this. We still took all the footage. We shot it. We tried to do that, but the audio quality wasn't great, so I'll still put like a time lapse at the end of this, but I did want to go over some things. Just kind of like some stuff that she said, the experience that I had, which was great. The haircut, which I am super, super happy with, and I literally can feel the weight missing from my head that had been acquiring over quarantine. Give you a little bit of a profile of her shop, some of the services that she offers and everything like that, and a little bit of a timeline, and maybe we'll start there. So, timeline-wise, on May 29th, they announced that Pittsburgh was going to be entered into the green phase, and the green phase is going to start on June 5th. As it pertains to what we're talking about here, and for Becca, the Cosmetology State Board didn't actually release their guidelines until June 15th, so 10 days after we entered into the green phase. I went for my haircut on June 13th, so I was there prior to them releasing their guidelines. So Becca and I guess all salons and anybody in the cosmetology world were basically flying by the seat of their pants, which kind of shows you the organization that the powers that be kind of had during this whole mess, and I think everybody can actually get on board with calling it a mess. The experience was great. I pulled up, and right away outside, she has a sandwich board that basically had all their personal guidelines for how things were going to go. Right away when you walk in, everybody's masked up. You have to wear a mask. They have a little table right as soon as you walk in that has a touch-free sensor, hand sanitizer, and they take your temperature. So basically, everything they did was erring on the side of caution, which I am always appreciative of, and it certainly didn't go unnoticed. The one thing that I really noticed, and it made me feel, I don't know, some kind of way, and some sort of a very positive emotion. I don't know if I'm elated. I don't know if I'm just happy or if, it made me feel warm. But I could see that they were happy being back to work, doing the thing that they love. It's one thing to be in a job that's just kind of like your 9 to 5. You're not really in love with it. You're kind of like working for the money so that you can play with the money that you're getting. And then the other, it's a whole other thing when you own a company and it's the thing you love. It's the thing that you put your blood, sweat, and tears into. It was taken away from you, and then you get it back. It was very obvious that they were happy to be back at the thing that they built. So I could feel that. That was palpable. It was very tangible. So without actually having the guidelines, Becca took a couple of things just into her own hands as far as safety is concerned. And again, I always love when people will err on the side of caution. I just think that if you want to show that you care about people, that's a really goddamn good way to do it. The hair washing stations are in the back of the salon, and they're right next to each other. They're, your elbows can touch the next person. Not that extreme, but they're pretty close. So to make sure that you weren't like right on top of somebody, or you wanted to have some distance and it wasn't really that it's not really available because those chairs don't move, because the sinks aren't portable. She built a wall. She built a wall between the two stations, which worked perfectly. Becca always kept a pretty stocked refrigerator in the salon, definitely with beer. I think there was some wine, probably some non-alcoholic drinks as well. And she even made mention that it was kind of a bummer that you can't hand anybody drinks anymore. So like while you're getting anything done, it's just not a certain, like, it's not a part of the package right now. So on top of the fridge now, they have what looks like a little, like a microwave oven or something like that. It almost looks like a safe. It's like a black box. And when you open it up, it's super metallic on the inside, and it looks like it has UV lights. And if you're familiar with Steri pens, which are things that people use when they go like hiking or camping, they're these pens that you can, it's like a wand, and you put it in water, and it kills all the bacteria from like creek water or something like that. So you can use that if you're in a bind and you run out of water when you're out in the wilderness, and they work great. So she has this box basically that they put their scissors in every time that they use them, so that you're not getting scissors that were used directly from somebody in front of you. Not that ever happened before, but I guess that blue water, I'm not really sure what that stuff is called. They just decided, let's take it a step further and let's use a little bit more technology and not whatever that blue, cleaning solution was. That looks like mouthwash. So like I said, Heart of Glass is a salon over in Lawrenceville. I'm not like a super pro on the menu of services that they have. Obviously, I got a great haircut, which I am going to probably talk about a number of different times during this whole thing. But so they do men's cuts, they do women's cuts of all lengths. I've seen some absolutely wild Instagram photos of the color jobs that they do. So they do all kinds of colors and highlighting. I believe they do brows. I believe they do lashes. They may even do facials. So you probably want to check out their website for that, or, hit their social media, whatever. But they operate under the tagline Organic AF. And so if that's something that you're really into, which I think you probably should be, Becca is 100% on top of her game when it comes to hair and teaching, and really caring about what you're putting on your hair, what are you having contact with your skin. Yeah, she's a giant advocate for that type of stuff. So everything that she has in the shop is amazing for your hair. It's completely organic, no insane chemicals, no nothing. And of course, before I go, she sends me out the door with a sample of a shampoo that smells just unbelievable, because everything in there smells amazing. And I actually wanted to make a point to say that because it's true. I don't know if it's a part of all the organic things, but it definitely doesn't smell like chemicals. Everything smells like very herbal. I made a point to tell her at one point that the sample shampoo that she gave me last time I stopped in to drop off some business cards, I think it smelled like lavender or something like that. It smelled amazing. But she also gave me a sample this time because I am now irrationally worried out of the blue that I'm going bald, and that's no good for anybody. If I lose all of my hair, I just don't have a good looking head. I've definitely done the shaved head thing before. It's not a great look for me, and it's not a great look for me to be presenting to the world. It's not a gift I would be giving to anybody for sure. But the shampoo is amazing. It's like minty. and it feels minty. I can feel it, like it feels like my head's waking up. There's like that cool crispness to it. So going back to the timeline that I mentioned early on, one of the things that I asked her was, how quickly did your schedule fill up? Like how fast was it after the announcement that people just started blowing her up? And she said it was instantaneous. Basically, the announcement happened. She hadn't even known that they made the announcement about Pittsburgh reopening on the 5th, and her phone was just absolutely blowing up. So I guess at that point, she just got right to work and filled up her schedule. And she said not only are people scheduling now, like trying to get in their appointment because people are dying for a haircut, which obviously I was as well. And she said people are not only are they booking haircuts now, they're booking like quarters out, like 3 months and 6 months. Like they're planning way, way, way ahead. Which for me, that seems super odd. But I'm just the type of person that wakes up one morning and goes, "Oh, I need a haircut." So I don't know if that's like, if people will hear that and be like, "I do that all the time." Well, I don't know. That's definitely not my style. So we also talked about what's been the most difficult thing that she's had to change since she's reopened. And I mean, it's probably no shock to hear this, but of course, like, they have to just constantly be sanitizing everything. When somebody gets up, they have to wipe down the chair. They're wiping down surfaces constantly. Obviously, everybody's wearing masks, just because, like, whatever the conflict of information is, it can't be bad that you're wearing a mask. Like, either it's doing nothing, and that's fine, or it's doing something, and that's good. But it's definitely not doing anything bad. So, yeah, that's something that has been different for them and difficult. She does have masks. The mask that I was wearing, she gave me. I have one of those scarf masks that, like, you can just pull up. But obviously that doesn't work out well when you're trying to get the back of your neck cleaned up and whatnot. So she gave me a around the ear mask. So that was nice. They have those on hand. And then she just said that she can't book the way that she usually books her appointments. She's been trying to keep the shop, socially spaced as much as you can. So while she would typically be like cutting me, which doesn't take all that long, she would maybe have someone with like a color job just kind of sitting and waiting, having them under the, having them under the vents or the hair dryers or whatever. Whatever permutation of service that they can like streamline with efficiency. She doesn't really have because of spacing, she's not booking that way to like maximize the amount of people that are in there. That bums me out because obviously you're leaving money on the table, and as somebody who is like a champion of small business, it bums me out to see them leaving money on the table like that. But again, like, to show that you care about your customers, I think is paramount, and that's how she's doing that. And without saying it, I'll say it for her. She's leaving a lot of money on the table booking like that. So if you're looking for somebody of good character that you'd like to be giving your business to, those are things to be watching for, and those are things that she practices on a daily basis. She's a very big advocate for caring for people and for general safety. So like if that, again, if that's something that you care about, that's something that you place on a pedestal, that you value highly, that's a place that you can go. I vet it for you. Here it is. So that was basically it. That was the crux of our conversation. We got into some other silly things, like basically how if it wasn't such a terrible situation, my inner child is loving the fact that everybody is walking around and looking like ninjas at all times. Like if there's one thing that I would have wanted whenever I was like 10 years old was like just to see like a world of ninjas. And I'm kind of getting a little glimpse of what that looks like. We talked about how I basically have not a lot of style, that I wear jorts and I own that shit. So yeah, if you have a problem with jorts, if you see me not wearing jeans, I'm probably wearing jorts. So that's how I own that. And I talked about being self-conscious about this giant mole that I have on the back of my head. So because I admitted that in the video, I might as well admit that now. I talked about how I'm afraid of going bald, so I'm owning that as well. So yeah, I mean, you have your normal like silly conversation. We mentioned like being excited that we could go to brunch again soon. Things like that. That about wraps it up. So if you've hung in, for this long already, hang on for a little bit longer. You'll see the time lapse of me getting my hair cut and going from a human mop to basically this, which I, again, will say is a great haircut, and I'm so happy. Like, I felt so fresh leaving there. It was just a nice feeling to have, and I'm not the type of person to glorify a haircut. I only really do it, for the most part, because I try not to look like a complete homeless person when I go to work. So, obviously, a huge thanks to Becca for the haircut. I'm super excited that everything is back open. I'm excited that Heart of Glass is back open. Just keep looking out for each other. Stay safe. And